Feeling pretty good about ourselves over here, guys. That's three weeks in a row. Benny on the beat, 3 weeks. There's no way we're gonna keep this pace up. There's no way. But for now, we're good. 3 weeks in a row. Hooray. We appreciate all of you guys being here. And if you are new, my name's Ben. I am a police officer, have been for a long time.
It's been 84.
Shut it! In case you are new, I've done this a few times before. We periodically do like a new introduction. We've had this YouTube channel going for about 3. It started with a focus on our off-duty family life. Wanted to show people what it was like to be a cop, just not on the job. There was plenty of that out there, we thought. Not as much showing what we were like kind of as human beings, if you will. And we're still doing that. That's still a big part of our channel, is showing the family vlogs, just our day-to-day life, fun stuff that we go do, and we really like that content. But we also started this segment, the Benny on the Beat segment, which you can see is about 26 episodes strong now, where I try to bring you guys into the day-to-day life of what I do as a cop. We get a lot of questions about why I don't take a video camera out and show you guys like footage from my job. It's just against the policies of my department. It's against the rules. I'd get in trouble. I couldn't do it. This is as close as we can get to it. These virtual ride-alongs, just sharing stories and telling you guys what it's like. But for the most part, you guys seem to like this stuff. Anyway, glad you guys are here. Per tradition, let's look at a few comments from last week's video and try to answer a few questions. Thin Blue Line, imagine Fuzz with his upper body naked. We don't have to imagine, I can show you.
Hello there.
In front of a fire truck, playing with a puppy and laughing like a schoolgirl, because that's what firefighters do, right? Apparently they do. Betty Blue, coming from a middle of nowhere firefighter paramedic, do you guys have AEDs and more comprehensive med bags besides the basic, oh, cracker sticks, Leroy, get me a pressure dressing bag? What? Oh, cracker sticks, Leroy? Is that a quote from something? So my department doesn't have med bags like for medical calls for us to go out and treat patients. We do have a personal med kit that has things like the rubber spatula hose, what's it called? I don't remember what it's called. They used it in 3 Kings. Anyway, it's the thing that goes up into your nose. Somebody on here will put it in the comments and know what I'm talking about. Trauma bandages, stuff like that. It's stuff so that we can treat each other if we're shot, but we don't have equipment that we can treat patients. I work in an urban environment with a really large fire department. Those guys are quick to get to scenes. So they don't really have us doing anything with medical stuff. Polecat fan, just realized that the reason why the Impalas always broke, you weren't rocking 20-inch blades on the Impala. That's what I was missing. That's why it always broke. No. It's because of who it was and the soul of the car. But I agree, it would have been better with 20-inch blades. I should have been rocking that. Holy cats. Oh boy. Let's just dive right in. Fuzz ASMR. What are you going to do? Rub your jowls on the microphone, or maybe you're wheezing from walking up some stairs. Holy cats. Is that not an endorsement, or is that an endorsement for no ASMR? Actually, when I read through the comments, by far and large, the vast majority of people said no cop ASMR, which I'm actually grateful for. We weren't going to do that anyway, but I'm glad you guys really enjoyed that. Albino from Utah, that squirrel was given crack by Florida man. That explains it. Freaking Florida man. Florida man is a force to be reckoned with. Connor Williams, Fuzz, 2 quick questions. We all know that you love firefighters. But what would happen if your son became a fireman? And if a donut place was on fire, who would get their fire PD, or who would get there first, the fire department or the police? That's what we're asking here. Well, I can tell you, Connor, we've addressed this question, or this concern, if you will. We have another video on the YouTube... Puberty? There is another video on our channel, one of our family vlogs, where this issue came up. I'll try to throw a link to it up here rather than answer it here. You can just check that video out. As far as who would get there first to a donut shop on fire, I don't know, but I do think there's a picture on the internet somewhere of what it would look like if I were to respond. Could look something like that, may or may not. Cowboy slippers, what is the most important muscle group to work for policing? Well, cowboy slippers. Personally, I've subscribed to a full body workout, so I don't pick one particular muscle group to specialize in. To be honest, I don't know. I couldn't answer if I had to pick one muscle group. Anybody else can weigh in on this. Again, for me, it's all about the full body workout. Larry Johnson, it's 11 hours and 57 minutes of boredom, shattered by 3 minutes of excitement. The 3 minutes is me eating my pizza. Larry Johnson is a man that I can understand. Larry, I like your style. Dennis Teal, do you have any superstitions as a cop, or certain things you do before or after shifts? Dennis, I don't think I have any superstitions. I can think of one thing I do before I go on shift. We've talked about this before on videos in the past. I've got a tradition. My family comes out and watches me drive away. And as I'm doing that, as I'm driving away, I'll usually flip on my rear lights on my light bar just to flash to them that I'm leaving. Anyway, no particular reason why. It's just something we've always done. As far as after shift, the only thing I really have a tradition of doing after shift is taking off my stinky socks and boots and diving headfirst into a bowl of cereal.
Real classy.
Tim Bramley, why are police allowed to use patrol cars for personal use?
I'm afraid that information is classified. JK.
Tim, this is actually a really good question. A lot of people bring this up. Some police departments have a car per man take home program. Some don't. Usually bigger cities, bigger agencies, they can't make that work, and so they have a fleet program. You come to work in your own car, you drive a police car after you check it out, and you turn it back in at the end of shift. Our department actually used to do that, but a long time ago, a few years ago at least, they switched to the car per man program, and I can sum it up like this. It's actually a really good program. It's less wear and tear on the cars because they get treated a lot better. The officers that have them have personal responsibility for them. They keep them cleaner, they take better care of them. Did Officer Ma'am send you? Yeah, so my police car, unless it's an Impala, you know what? Not my fault. I see you guys through the screen watching the video snicker, and I see the comments starting right now. Little. But it's a good program. We have to actually pay for the privilege to do it. So I pay for a big chunk of the gas that I use when I use it off duty. Plus it puts a marked police car out there in the public, driving around, which everybody knows has a great effect on suppressing crime and making a police presence. And the taxpayers are paying nothing for it because the officers are off duty and they're driving around. Speaking of the patrol car, we've been doing a patrol car update or status segment on each of these videos. I'm gonna skip it this time. You guys are gonna have to trust me. The car is fine. Nothing has changed. Weather report this time? No. You know what? Not doing that either. Throwing the weather report out. You know what we will replace those with, though? We haven't done this in a little while. Is a word from our sponsor. This video brought to you by Toasty Buns. They got a pimple bar! Thanks, sponsor. Let's get into the calls this week. So as you guys can see from the title of the video, some days from last week, police work can be very boring. A lot of the times it is. And then there are times when it's very busy and there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's the nature of the job. It's actually one thing I like about it. It's different day to day to day. So this week we actually had a lot of stuff going on. All right, so first off the bat, this isn't as much a call as it is, I guess, just an experience from during the week, but I felt like I had to share it. So some of you guys that have been, or gals that have been in law enforcement before, or currently are, will know the term prison wallet. Oftentimes when people come to jail, they will sneak things into jail, and you can use your imagination as to how they do that. So last week, one of my partners had a call where he arrested a guy, took him to jail, and as they were doing the search in the jail, they found that in his prison wallet, he had brought in a hypodermic needle. So not entirely uncommon, and certainly not the first time something like this has happened. However, they found that this individual had not put the cap on the needle.
That could be dangerous, Jimmy.
Oh, I hate even thinking about it. Then we had a high-speed pursuit a couple nights ago. So we had a guy going around town shooting out of his car towards people and other people's cars, and their cars were being hit by bullets. So one of our officers found the car and tried to do a traffic stop on it, and of course he took off and went north into another county, another city, ended up crashing. He went off into a dirt road out by some swamps and grasslands type area, and where it dead ended, and then crashed into a river. Like, I guess there was a canal or a river or something there. So he tries to turn around and crashes into the canal, gets out, takes off running into these wetlands. And so picture like just a swamp with like big 9-foot tall cattails, water, just a marsh, right? Maybe a little bit like Sam and Frodo in the bog on the way to Mordor.
This place sucks.
So as I'm listening to this, because as a cop, if you're not involved directly in the chase, and you possibly can, you're gonna be on the radio listening to it, right? It's like a live sporting event that everybody's just wrapped into and wondering what's gonna happen. But I remember thinking, if I was on this call, there is no way I would chase this guy. I mean, there's some officer safety concerns, but there's also just the fact that you're chasing him into a swamp. I mean, could I even move in a bog? I mean, I might just sink. I don't know if I could even maneuver that. Either way, it's a good thing I wasn't there, because the officers that were there, they were on him. They had a canine, and so they started tracking him into the bog, and it was only a few minutes before they had him cornered and got him into handcuffs. So then, not quite as exciting, but I got a call of a traffic hazard of an intersection with all the lights out and people almost getting into accidents. And so I went over to check it out. Sure enough, lights are out in the area, like right around this intersection, and it's a busier one. And you would usually think, I mean, you tell me, do you guys know what you're supposed to do when all the lights are out at an intersection and you come to that intersection?
China.
If you said anything other than stop and treat it like a four-way intersection, you are wrong. By my estimation then, apparently half of the general public remembers driver's ed and has any common sense, because most of the cars that were coming through there didn't even stop and blew right on through. I almost saw at least 5 or 6 pedestrians run over by cars and several traffic accidents. Actually, more than several. I almost saw several.
China!
So anyway, I went to the intersection and tried to figure out the best way to handle this. I wasn't going to get out in the middle of it and do, traffic control, but I also wanted to prevent an accident, which would of course prevent me having to do more paperwork. So I sat on the side of the road and flipped on my overhead lights, tried to make it as noticeable and flashy as possible to get people's attention, and that actually worked. It was a lot better after I did that. People were starting to stop, but not everybody. There were still plenty of people flying through the intersection, not paying attention, not yielding, not doing what they were supposed to. Yes, I could have gone after them and pulled them over, given them a ticket, tried to educate them, but I thought the more important job was to sit there and do what I could to get people to slow down and make the intersection safer. Then we had a call of a psychotic guy that had grabbed or assaulted his mother, and so she had to leave the house. She took off running to the neighbors next door, called 911, said he was still in the house. So we get there and talk to this gal, and she's a social worker. She's a mental health expert, so she said at least. And she told us that her son was in, I think if I remember right, she said he's in psychosis. And she used some other fancy words I'd never heard before. She said he wasn't on drugs, hadn't been drinking any alcohol. He was just absolutely out of his mind, experiencing another reality. I guess he had wrenched her arms behind her back and told her she was under arrest. So in his mind, he thought he was doing some kind of law enforcement work. So we went up to the house. She was going to let us in. She had the keys to the house and the door was locked. And I guess they had one of those sliding kind of hotel type locks at the top of the door that he had utilized, and so there was no way that she could get in. She told us that there was a back door into the property, but it was all fenced in and it was kind of difficult to get into the backyard. So we were debating just letting him stay and letting her go stay somewhere else for the night. But she was pretty persistent that she wanted to sleep in her own house. She wanted to get back in the house. So she thought we could get into the house by going around to the neighbor's house and dropping down into the backyard. So we said, all right, let's go check it out. If it's like a big, Jurassic Park security fence, no, we're not gonna rappel down into the backyard to get into the house. But if it's easy to get in, so we walked around and the fence was manageable. She had a hard time getting down there, of course, being athletic, well-trained officers. We just jumped and landed, and she was very impressed. So we're in the backyard, made it to the back door. She was able to unlock the door and we went in. We're searching the house kind of methodically. We don't want to be surprised by the guy in psychosis that's living in a different reality, armed with a knife or a screwdriver or whatever. So we're carefully searching around the house, and we notice the bathroom door is shut and it sounds like the shower's on. So we check the door, it's locked. Mom comes over with a tool and opens the door, moves out of the way. Curtain is shut on the shower, steamy in there. We call out to him, no response. It's not talking to us. Great. Well, there's a few things we could find in this scenario, whether he's in there or not, whether he's done anything to hurt himself. You never know what you're going to find. So we had to kind of work our way into the bathroom. He was in there and he was okay. He hadn't hurt himself, but he was laying in the bottom of the shower. No clothes or anything, and the water was just pouring on him, and he was kind of in the fetal position, just shaking. So we got our medical guys in. We got a plan in place since we couldn't get him to talk to us that we were going to help him out of the shower. Fortunately, as soon as we went to do that and grabbed his legs to pivot them around the side of the tub, and we were going to try to pull him up, he came to and started cooperating. He wasn't all the way with it, but he started saying, okay, and stood up, and we were able to walk him out to the ambulance. Got him up to the hospital and admitted for psychiatric evaluation. Then we had a call. I want your guys' opinion on this. If you are a police officer or have been, I'd be curious what your input would be. And even if you're not, you can give an opinion on this, and I'll give you mine. So the call was a welfare check at an apartment building, and the information was, well, number one, the complainant wanted to remain anonymous. Totally anonymous. There was no name, no phone number. They called from a blocked number. So they said they wanted us to check on a 15-year-old girl who is sometimes left alone at the house or the apartment. That's the first concern. She is left alone at the house. I guess they mean without parental supervision. Number two, they were concerned that she was having physical relationships with older men. Just ask yourself what you would do in that situation if you're a police officer and you get dispatched to it. So I guess a lot of this depends on your own department or the department of any police officer and their policies and procedure. Some places they may require you to go on any call you're dispatched to go investigate. You may not have a choice. If you're doing your job per policy, you may have to go and contact somebody. I am glad that I work in an agency where we have at least enough autonomy that we can screen calls and we can say yes or no. We are not going to that call, or yes, we are. Most calls we're going to go to, but not all of them. And this is a classic example. Are you kidding me? I'm going to go ask this girl, number one, is it a problem that she's home alone if her parents aren't there? As a 15-year-old, can you be home alone? Yeah, you can be home alone as a teenager. The parents are not breaking the law by leaving your teenager home alone. Can you imagine? Heaven forbid if we couldn't leave them. As to the second concern of her having relationships with older men, am I really going to go talk to a 15-year-old girl about that without her parents there because she's apparently left alone all the time? I contacted dispatch. I actually called them to make sure I wasn't missing any information and talked to him on the phone first before I called him on the radio and said to clear the call out, Unfounded. We are absolutely not responding on that. And hopefully that's the answer you gave too. Next up on the calendar, we responded to a lewdness in progress. Got a report from a guy that was looking out his window adjacent to an alleyway and saw a homeless person using the bathroom. Number 2, just fertilizing the flowers in the alleyway, I guess. So not something you want to look out the window and see, especially if you've got kids and they happen to see that. In this case, fortunately, there were no kids involved. It was just somebody that didn't want to have to see that when he opened the window to get a breath of fresh air. So a lot of times we get sent on these and the people are long gone and we don't find them, but we got there in this case and we saw the woman. We saw the person that they had described. Furthermore, we parked a ways down the road. I was waiting for my partner to come around the block. And she turned and saw me and walked right towards me, which is not something people usually do. They usually walk or run the other direction, but she came right to us. And she was really cooperative. She said she knew why we were there to talk to her and knew that we were there to talk to her and didn't appreciate the fact that we were talking to her. But she understood why. So she sat there while we looked her up and ran her information and was released on citation. Then, yes, there's more. This video is starting to get a little bit long. I need to wrap it up. It was a busy week. I'm only giving you guys a fraction of some of the stuff that we did too, kind of picking them at random. I got a call of a theft that had just occurred at a Wendy's up the road. So we got a call that there was a guy chasing another guy of a guy that had the wallet of another guy. Yeah, I did really good at explaining that. 3 people involved: the victim, the guy chasing him, and the suspect. Did I? You know what? I lost track. Did I even get that? We love the subs. We love the subs. Anyway, the guy chasing the bad guy caught up to him, and they all knew each other. They were all homeless, and I guess he gave him a stern talking to, and got the wallet back for the other guy, who couldn't chase him, by the way, because he's got canes. He's disabled, and he can't, hardly even walk. You got a good friend who will chase after the bad guy who just stole your wallet. So we started talking to him to get the report, and he didn't want anything done about it. He got his wallet back, didn't want to come to court, didn't want to be a victim, and so we just cleared the call. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Much busier week, and the exciting part, the fun part, is who knows what next week's gonna look like. On behalf of Toasted Buns and Weird Rats everywhere, thank you for watching the video and being subscribed to the FuzzFam channel. Can't wait to see you guys till next time. Everybody have a great week.
People say, oh, you don't like China. I like China. China.